is I've gotten myself in trouble. And hell, I might be president now if it weren't for the fact I said I had an uncle who was a coal miner. Turned out I didn't have anybody in the coal mines, you know what I mean?
Really?
I tried that crap, about.
Welcome back, America. That was then Senator Joe Biden 15 years ago, 17 years ago on the Jon Stewart show admitting he had no coal mine. And yesterday he was in Massachusetts talking about his great-grandfather who was a coal mining engineer. Senator Tom Cotton, you worked with Senator Biden and when he was president of the Senate. And, at this point, I'm completely befuddled by why they cannot keep him on a small script, closely written, that makes sense. I really don't know why they put him out there anymore.
Yeah, Hugh, as you know, I've been saying for several months, at least since he went to Warsaw and blurted out that it was the American policy to foment regime change in Russia, that it would be better for everyone, including Joe Biden, if he would just stick to written scripts that were prepared in advance and not speak extemporaneously. They obviously have not taken my advice, and I'm not sure they'll ever get the voluble Joe Biden to do so. But as you saw yesterday, it's just not very good for Joe Biden. It's not very good for our country.
No, and I didn't think you could go below 30% in the polling, but I think President Biden's going to prove me wrong about that. Senator Cotton, I want to talk to you specifically about the CHIPS Act. On Wednesday night, I was on Special Report with Brett Baer, and Ari Fleischer said he didn't like the CHIPS Act. And I said, no, Ari, I got to disagree with you. It's $54 billion in subsidies for semiconductor production and $25 billion in tax credits for semiconductor production and fabrication plants in the United States. We need this. We need clean water, clean air, good food, and semiconductor chips, and I'm all for this. And I wake up the next morning and $74 billion in spending and credits had become $250 billion. What the hell happened overnight?
Well, Hugh, those bills have a way of growing rapidly in Washington, especially when the Democrats are in charge. So the core of the bill that Senator Schumer presented over the weekend was what you described. It was a combination of direct grants and tax credits for semiconductor fabrication plants to be built in America, along with what's called an open radio access network, which is a kind of alternative to Chinese-designed telecommunications equipment. But then a coalition of senators from both parties convinced Senator Schumer to add a much broader bill on it. I mean, it didn't just balloon in money, it ballooned in pages. A lot of that is designed to create new funds for the National Science Foundation, the Department of Commerce, and others, in some cases to address genuine needs. I have reluctantly opposed this so far because these are genuine needs, and especially on semiconductor chips, genuine concerns. I have real concerns, though, about the security and the counterintelligence protections in these measures. For instance, the National Science Foundation is not the CIA, it's not the National Security Agency. They're primarily there to fund academic research at America's universities. Nothing wrong with that. Let's just say that they don't have the tightest controls on the technology they develop. And I have concerns that we'll be funneling money out the door in Washington to go into basic research across the country, and then the Chinese will be running away with that technology out the back door.
Now, Senator, this morning, your friend and mine, Rob Portman, is on Twitter. Last night, I took to the Senate floor to correct the record on how my Safeguarding American Innovation Act was stripped from the CHIPS package currently under consideration. And he goes on to detail the concern that you have. Who in the world doesn't want the protections against Chinese exploitation and intellectual property theft and espionage in this bill? How could that possibly not be in this bill?
The answer to your question is simple. Liberal Democrats. Remember, liberal Democrats like Joe Biden and Merrick Garland shut down the Department of Justice's China initiative, which was designed in part to stop Chinese espionage at America's universities. It's a real and genuine problem. We've had a professor at University of Arkansas who's been convicted of working for Chinese-owned or sponsored entities in advanced engineering fields. The chairman of Harvard's Department of Chemistry, for goodness sake, faced charges of espionage. It happens all across the country. But liberal Democrats, like Joe Biden and Merrick Garland shut down the China initiative. And anytime you point out that the coronavirus came from Wuhan, or that it should be called the Wuhan coronavirus in the same way that we have names like Lyme disease or West Nile or what have you, they call you a racist and xenophobic, probably responsible for hate crimes against Asian Americans. It's just another example of how they've gone so far around the bend on identity politics that they don't even address real and genuine security problems.
Before I moved back to D.C. in 2015, I had lunch with an assistant United States attorney in Orange County who detailed for me the number of prosecutions against Chinese agents in the United States, some of them Chinese nationals, some of them Chinese Americans who had been deep cover for a long time. It was a large number a decade ago. It's an extraordinary number now. They play to win. The CCP plays to win. So I can't believe this. So my question is, what happens next? It went from being a bill I was full-throated behind to one I don't think we can afford to pass this as is. Can it get back to what it was, Senator Cotton?
Hugh, I don't know, in part because Chuck Schumer couldn't run a one-car funeral, much less run the United States Senate. We voted on Tuesday afternoon to proceed to a bill that didn't yet exist. That's why you go on TV Tuesday afternoon talking about what you think is one bill, and you wake up the next morning and it's 1,000 pages longer and 3 times the cost. So it's unclear to me what will be in the bill that we vote on next week and how what's in the bill will affect the coalition of votes. Now, again, I want to stress that it's a real and genuine problem that the Senate is trying to resolve. I'm just not sure that this is the correct way to resolve it, and I'm not sure that it hones in on the most important problem. There are all kinds of semiconductors made around the world, and plenty of them made here in America, and a lot of them are not fancy or sophisticated or cutting edge. But the most cutting edge, the most sophisticated, are made in one place, Taiwan, an island against which China has irredentist claims and thousands of missiles aimed at. It is an urgent and vital national security priority for us to work with the government of Taiwan and the Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company to build resilience into their production lines. I'm not saying they should move them out of Taiwan. We wouldn't expect them to do that. But they need more fabrication facilities that are outside of Chinese missile range, because if China were to ever invade Taiwan, then it would have the potential to give China a stranglehold over the modern economy. And I'm not exaggerating, a true stranglehold over the modern economy, something that we cannot allow to happen.
Yeah, Senator, as my kids were growing up, I repeated one phrase again and again and again: focus and execute. And they laugh about it now because it was my mantra: focus and execute. It's how you learn to move from point A to point B: focus and execute. Can the United States Senate focus on what you just articulated and articulate a legislative strategy to meet that problem, which is urgent, and it is of great value to the West and to the United States and to the places where they are built? It is not pork. It is urgent. Can they focus and execute?
We will see, Hugh. If this bill doesn't pass, I have some other ideas, and I will focus on this very specific challenge for the Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company. If it does pass, I will continue to monitor how it's implemented and whether we are building more of those most cutting-edge fabrication facilities in the United States and in friendly nations. And if that doesn't, then let's just say I have a few more ideas up my sleeve that the Senate might be able to take up in the future, or that a future Republican administration would be able to pursue.
Now, Senator, I want to switch to the president's inability to pay attention to what the Supreme Court says. 3 weeks ago in West Virginia versus EPA, I'm going to make this comprehensible to Steelers fans. The Supreme Court said, executive branch, from the president to the GS2 and the lowest ranking agency anywhere, you may not act unless Congress has given you the authority to do so on any major question. You have to have an explicit authorization. Yesterday, the president had short-term amnesia and forgot that the Supreme Court rebuked his EPA 3 weeks ago for trying to go where there was no legislative direction to go. What do you do about this? This is simply a complete abdication by the president of any responsibility, the oath he took to uphold the Constitution of the United States?
Well, there's a few things we can do about it, Hugh. First, we went in November, and we used our power in Congress to stop this nonsense. We were very effective in the final 2 years of the Obama administration in using the spending power to put curbs on their regulatory agenda. We can do so again if we win in November. Second, I suspect that if the president goes forward with some of the actions he's announced, exceeding his authority under law, it's those agencies trying to grab power that Congress never intended them to have, that those people who are injured by it will have a strong lawsuit, and you'll find judges who are willing to stop it in its tracks. It'll still do damage in the meantime, just like those EPA actions had done damage, or like the SEC's efforts to strangle the fossil fuel industry's access to capital markets in America is driving up the price of gas and electricity. But the Supreme Court has been very clear on this. The vast administrative state in Washington cannot look in musty, dusty corners of laws that are decades old and find vague clauses that all of a sudden give them the power to regulate huge swaths of our economy.
Well said. Last question, Senator. Yesterday, the San Diego Unified School District announced that, or this week, that masks must be worn in summer school or you have to go home, and they're back in. I don't believe there's any science supporting this whatsoever, any dispositive science. You're on the Senate Intelligence Committee. Just tell me if I'm wrong. If I'm wrong, I will retract. But I think every school board member who supported masking and closing schools should be defeated in November, and I'm especially hoping it happens in San Diego. What do you think about masking school children right now, Senator Cotton?
No, Hugh, I'm aware of no evidence whatsoever that suggests school children need to wear masks. In fact, the evidence is contrary, that it harms kids' development. It harms their ability to learn to read and to write, to speak clearly, especially the younger ones. To listen and to pay attention. And the vast trove of evidence suggests that kids are uniquely not vulnerable to this coronavirus.
So why are they doing it? Well, I mean, you have to guess. You don't have any evidence, but why are they doing this?
No, Hugh, I think for a lot of liberals in big cities, oftentimes secular, it's become a kind of secular religion to worship at the foot of the science, capital T, capital S, and so-called experts like Tony Fauci, a little Wilsonian scold.
He is a Wilsonian scold. Boy, that's perfect. I think you meant capital S, capital C. Worship at the altar of science. But you're from Arkansas, so we're going to give you a break on that. Senator Cotton, thank you, my friend. Come back next week. As always, succinct. Capital S, capital C, right? Succinct.